Alrighty, welcome back.
Welcome back. It seems like the internet went out for Cinco de Mayo and has a bit of a bad head today.
So try this on. Go ahead and see that context, that goal you've set for yourself, and allow your physiology to shift. Picture that goal in front of you and picture it in a way that as you look at that now, you can look at that with an unshakable gaze. This is a gaze that doesn't blink. It's as if you're actually seeing through to a deeper level. You could see all of the molecules that interact with each other to accomplish this. And know that it is absolutely certain. And as you do this, notice your breathing and how it feels to see the world in this way. Because you may find that you would like to talk about this goal, share this vision of reality with someone else. And Steve would do just this, and when he would speak about it, he would speak about it in such a way that his rhythm was very fast. It's like your voice is filled with the energy, the creative force that you are using to accomplish this. It's as if the entirety of your being is emanating an energy that causes reality to shift. Reality responds to you, not the other way around, until you accomplish this goal.
Now, for those of you who have trained with us in hypnosis, you'll recognize this state as a version of the H+ state, the hypnotist state. It's this projection of mental force, of creating a bubble around yourself and the person or the people you're speaking to. So what Steve Jobs was doing essentially was to hypnotize the people around him. And they used to talk about this at Apple. They called it the reality distortion field. They knew it was there, and yet when they were with Steve Jobs, they were not able to resist the power, the force of his personality. Now, there's a couple of more aspects of this. First of all, any fact which was on the table would be used by Steve Jobs to support his argument. Even if the fact had been put on the table by somebody who disagreed with him, he would use the fact to support his side of the argument. And this, of course, as we know, is called a reframe. It's called a meaning reframe. Somebody may put down a fact and say, this means that you're wrong, but you can say, well, actually, this fact means that I'm right because of this reason. So he included the hypnotic trance and also meaning reframes. Now, of course, if you simply hold your position as being true, sooner or later you're going to run up against reality. So Steve Jobs also incorporated something called the pirouette. And what this allowed him to do was when he changed his mind, or reality changed his mind for him, he would adopt the position of another person. So even if he'd been arguing against something, as soon as he decided it was time to change, he would take that position and he would embrace it as if it were his own, as we say. Now, this was true even if he was talking to the person who originally had that as a position. He'd say, I have this great idea, and then he would repeat back to them the idea that they had actually had, as if it were his own. So it's this intensity of focus, intensity of vision, this ability to put a meaning reframe on any fact to support your position, and this ability when you change, rather than to say, oh yeah, I was wrong, is to fully and completely adopt the new position and carry on. So this is the first aspect of Steve Jobs' skill, the reality distortion field.
The next aspect is this unification of form and functionality. It's the uniting of what seems to be opposites. It's about going with your gut feeling and understanding that everything is a dance and a balance between these two areas. When form and functionality are in alignment in your goal, it becomes far more possible to accomplish this. And this is on the practical level. There's this idea that the easiest route to accomplish something is better. So what's the easiest, what's the most functional route that allows you to achieve this form that you have envisioned for yourself?
Now, there's basically two aspects of this. The first is to understand that form and function are the same thing. They're linked. You can't say, well, okay, what do I want this thing to do? That's the function. And how do I want it to look? That's the form. They're linked. The functionality of something is going to determine its form, and the form of something is going to determine its functionality. For those of you who have trained with us in terms of NLP, you'll see that if we're teaching a particular pattern, we'll actually use that pattern to teach the pattern. The second aspect of this is this idea that, as Jess says, it's the simplicity. Okay? Now, this does not mean that you should try and come up with simple ideas. It's not the way it works. What it means is you build the idea to be as complex as it needs to be to suit your functionality, but then you begin to strip away what's not needed. And this, again, this is a big approach in terms of NLP. What's the difference that makes the difference? So you build it so that it works, and then you begin to strip away what isn't necessary, and what you're left with is form and function. Okay, so there's a third aspect. We generally think of Steve Jobs, and we generally think of a lot of people who achieve greatness as being what we would call toward people. Okay? That they have their vision and they're moving toward that. Well, Steve Jobs said that's not the case. It's not just the one thing that you pursue, it's the 99 things that you decide not to pursue. That's just as important, in many ways even more important. And Steve Jobs had a particular way of approaching this, and it's a little bit of a strange way, and it really it caused him a lot of problems in his social life. So this is not a great skill in terms of socializing, but in terms of focusing on your goals, it's awesome. And what he did is he had this way of thinking in black and white, which means that if he saw something, it was either totally awesome or it was shit. And that was his word, not mine. So everything was split down into these two things, totally awesome and shit. And of course he would tell everyone around them that their work was shit, and that's how he got into all sorts of social embarrassments, and people got very upset. But this is the way he viewed the world. So it allowed him to focus all his energy on these things that were totally awesome and ignore the ones that were shit. Okay, so this third skill, is this ability to make a decision, think in black and white, and really give your focus to the things you want to focus on. That's the third skill. The fourth skill we've touched upon already, and that's this idea of riding the wave. What's the wave that's taking you into the future? What's the wave that you're riding? Is it technology? Is it the marriage of two ideas? What is that wave? Perhaps it's a demographic trend. So for us, in terms of training, the wave that we see is the marriage of coaching and neuroscience, which is opening up so many doors, so many possibilities. That's the wave that we are riding into the future. And it's this idea of being able to project yourself into the future, to dream of how you want the world to be, and then from that dream, connecting the dots backwards. How do you actually get there? So when you think of that context, and you think of that wave that you're riding, and you imagine where that wave could take you, and dream that dream, and step into that dream now, and then look back at the present and see what are those steps that you need to take you to that dream. And so that's the fourth skill. So again, the four skills: the reality distortion field, this idea to have this focus on your dream, to have that so firmly planted in front of you that it's projected on the world and you project it on the people you speak to, that you're able to have meaning reframe of any fact to support that, and that when you change your position, it's not with apology, it's with complete acceptance and ownership of the new idea. The second idea of form and function being one, of building the thing that you want to build and then trimming down what isn't necessary until form and function are perfectly aligned. Number three, this idea of thinking in black and white, of choosing those ideas that you want to pursue and seeing those, believing those, and feeling those to be totally awesome. And the ideas that you decide not to pursue, thinking of those as being shit. Right? I know it sounds odd, it sounds not very nice, but this is the Steve Jobs way. And then finally, this idea of surfing some wave into the future to your dream, and from that dream looking back, connecting the dots, looking backwards.
So we are getting close to the end of our session tonight, and you can take these skills, these 4 steps, and use them to propel yourself into your goal and to change the world around you. And as our friend and mentor John Overdorf says, you never know just how far a change will go. And when you take the Steve Jobs approach, you might begin to have some idea.
Transform the world.
So we'd like to thank you so much for joining us this evening. Now, as a special thank you for being here with us, you will be
through all the technical issues, not caused by our Mac, our beautiful Mac.
Only Apple ran the internet. We will be sending out within the next hour or so an email that contains a link to a downloadable audio file. This is a hypnotic experience.
Transinduction. So please do not listen whilst operating machinery, driving your car, or caring for small children.
In which you get to fully step into the shoes of Steve Jobs and experience it from the inside out. It's a nice complement to the more active approach to DCI and to modeling. So you have the balance of both worlds to fully integrate the experience and distort your reality until it's exactly how you've envisioned it.
Now, finally, we do plan to do some more being webinars, and if you have any ideas of people that you would love to be and you would love to see us do a webinar on, and of course, don't worry, Milton Erickson is on the list, then let us know, shoot us an email, text, phone call, smoke signals, let us know who you would like to be.
Well, that's it for this evening, and as we sign off, we have a very special video clip, the last video clip we'd like to share with you this evening. And this clip was taken from a memorial that was held for Steve Jobs, and it is Steve in his own voice reading the quote, or speaking the quote about the crazy ones. So here it is.
heard this version for the first time after he passed away and was very deeply moved by it. And I would like to play the audio of The Crazy Ones as read by Steve so you can hear the words he wrote and in his voice.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Should we come back to this?